everyone, and welcome to our show, Let's Talk Sarcoidosis. I'm your host, Dorothea Howard, and alongside of me is my co-host, Larry Franklin. How are you today, Larry?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. We have a great guest in the audience at our studio today. He's a fellow Sarcoidonian, and that's what I like to call everyone, that we're all coping with the same illness. I have Mr. Gerald Irving. Welcome, Gerald.
Thank you, Dorothy.
We're really glad to have you on the show to come out and tell your story, because we know that from a man's point of view, there are many men out there who have sarcoidosis, and this would be great that you actually came on to help the viewers. Now, Gerald, we know that, we can all tell when we have a cold, flu, body aches and fevers. But in your case, sarcoidosis with everybody presents many types of, signs. Think back and just tell us what ultimately led you to the doctors to find out what was going on.
Okay. I don't see myself as somebody who's prone to a lot of illnesses. I get the cold. I've had a few flus in my day. And even my younger years, I was diagnosed as having bronchitis. Didn't get a chance to play football. I would be a Cowboys player about years ago, but that's a different story, different life. But moving forward in my life, I took a trip with a gentleman. We went abroad.
Okay.
And he had this very nasty nagging cough the whole trip.
Wow.
6-hour flight, and he's coughing. And on the trip back, by the time we got back to the States, I had developed the same cough, and it was identical. And I didn't know what was going on, but it never did subside, so I took it to my doctor. They treated me for bronchitis. He said, "I think you have bronchitis, young man." So they gave me inhalers and just different things you can treat for cough. Didn't find anything necessary. I didn't do any x-ray and stuff like that, but he treated me for bronchitis. But it seemed like the symptoms got worse.
Wow.
Just didn't know what was going on. And then over a period of time, then it got really bad, where shortness of breath, coughing up phlegm, heavy phlegm, and then it started showing signs of blood in the mucus.
Wow.
That's when I kind of got scared. So I went back to the doctor again, and he sent me to have an x-ray. So I go to the local hospital, forget which one it was. And thank God for the technician, who was very attentive. And as soon as she saw the x-ray results, I saw her running past me. And I knew she was looking at my results. And she ran past me to a supervisor's desk. And the supervisor came and said, "Sir, I need you to go to the emergency room now."
Oh my goodness.
And
that sounds like my story.
Yeah, and I'm on a motorcycle. I said, "Can I at least take my bike home?" She said, "No. Go to the emergency room." So I did. And they quarantined me for a week.
Wow.
Because they thought maybe tuberculosis or whatever it was. So they ran all the tests, and well, thank God it wasn't tuberculosis. But just after a week, they sent me home. But so the early symptoms and stuff was the coughing and the shortness of breath, and even if I go back a little bit before that, I had this nagging bald spot. Well, it wasn't actually a bald spot; it was a flaky spot on my head, on the crown. And the dermatologist was treating me for fungus results, and they would come back up as fungus.
Okay.
And later on, we found out that was part of the sarcoidosis.
Wow. So
And I didn't even know that was even one of the symptoms. So who knows? Maybe when I was younger, what was bronchitis then, it could have been something else.
And that's true, because I've had symptoms myself when I was 17, and just brushing it off, thinking that I had a flu, and that could have been sarcoidosis as well. And I just have a question. I know you said that you went abroad. Where did you go abroad? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, in the Middle East.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow. So when were you actually clinically diagnosed with sarcoidosis?
So this is all coughing stuff. Was mid-2006. So August is when things got bad. August 2006, and back and forth to the doctors for different tests. Finally decided to do a procedure on me, where they had to. I guess they did a few endoscopy, and that didn't produce anything that they wanted to see that was concrete. So February 2007, they finally did a procedure where they actually deflated my lung.
They deflated
They
your
deflated the lungs.
Wow.
Never heard of that before.
Wow.
And they took tissue out to determine
Okay.
what actually was, and that's when they actually determined or came to the conclusion that you have sarcoidosis. Something I never heard of before.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
Wow.
2007.
So
February.
2007, you were diagnosed. So after your diagnosis, you know, how did you feel? Were you angry, or, you know, were you confused or sad? You know, were you afraid? And, you know, what about your family? Did you share it with your family? I know that's a lot of questions at one time, but if you can kind of go back to that moment once you heard the diagnosis and it set in, and then you had to share it with your family, and, you know, how did you feel at that point? What was going through your mind?
Like I said, never heard the term sarcoidosis.
Right.
Never heard it. So, you know, the doctors try to tell me what it is, you know, in the best they could and the best I could receive it. So, you know, by the time I get home, we, you know, look it up online and start reading all the horrors about sarcoidosis.
Right.
You know, there's
Yes.
no identified cause for sarcoidosis, and some of the symptoms and things you can expect during your life, and then there's no cure. I think the last part is what really kind of got me. It's like, no cure. You know, so yes, I was, yeah, I can say I was afraid.
Right.
Because still a young man, I thought, you know, is this it?
Right.
You know, I thought it was going to, you know, the sarcoidosis was one of those, you know, you can put a stamp on it, it's done.
Right.
So yeah, so we shared it with the best we could with my two children that live with us,
Okay.
and eventually to the brothers and sisters, and tried to tell them a little bit about it without overwhelming them, but to let them know that I had some kind of condition. We don't know actually what all it can do, or how much it's going to affect me long term.
Right.
So, but we were open enough to share with the family. But yes, we did.
And so how did your family react? I mean, were they, you know, frightened? Because I know my daughters, they were nervous, you know, and I didn't like to talk about it during that time too much.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to make them afraid, and it was unknown, like you said, and there's no cure, and no one knew anything. They had no answers. So I really didn't know what to tell them, but I was confused, and I kind of shielded from them for a while. Were you like that?
The only the person I held it close with was my wife.
Right.
You know, she was there from the beginning. Well, she's still with me now, but even from the beginning, she was the astute one who went online and looked it up, because, you know, we need to learn more. So she went after every bit of information she could find to learn more about it. You know, do I need a second, third, or fourth opinion?
Right.
That type deal. So I had no problem opening up and sharing my wife, even to the point after my kids started asking questions because they saw changes in me.
Right.
You know, Dad's not the same anymore. He can't do some things. So as they began to ask questions, yeah, so, you know, that was a great response.
Right.
So, but there's always been open line of communication in reference
Right.
to sarcoidosis.
And that's good. I mean, just originally, where were you diagnosed? Were you originally from Maryland, or where were you diagnosed when you got that you know?
This
that
all took
information?
place as far as the diagnosis was here.
Okay.
I was actually living in Anne Arundel County, and then that was all done at Johns Hopkins. But I'm originally from Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Texas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the great state of Texas.
Okay.
8 siblings. There's 4 boys,
Wow.
4 girls.
Okay.
My mom is still living. My father deceased at the age of 44 when I was in the 6th grade.
Wow.
And to this day, it's still unknown as to what it was. But being from Texas, none of my siblings have anything similar to this. You know,
Right.
there's high blood pressure, and there's kidney disease, and a couple of heart situations, perhaps, but nothing like this. So, is it hereditary? Is it? Who knows, right?
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's one of the things why we need more research. You know.
So
Larry?
Brian, I mean, Gerald, your family's been supportive. And you said that, well, for instance, with me, they believe my brother, my oldest brother, has sarcoidosis too, or they termed it another term. I think it was fibrosis of the lungs, which really is sarcoidosis.
Sarcoidosis. Okay.
You know,
Similar anyway.
Right. Most of your family is still in Texas.
Yeah, we spread in a few different states, but for the most part, the collective group is still in Texas.
And no signs of sarcoidosis. with
No,
them.
no signs of sarcoidosis. But it's amazing. You said your older brother. What's
Yeah.
the age difference? If I may ask.
We're 10.5 months apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
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 Like I said, I had a brother who just had a kidney transplant.
Wow.
You know, praise God, he's doing well.
Yeah,
But
that's
no,
really good.
not sarcoidosis. No issues with anybody's lung.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's ironic because my brother also had a kidney transplant.
So, Gerald, are you taking any medication for sarcoidosis?
Yeah, I'm taking other medications, but the ones directly related to sarcoidosis, I'm on a regimen of prednisone, which has been reduced significantly since I've been diagnosed. And I think coming up on 2 years, I was placed on methotrexate,
Okay.
and I take that once a week. I think it's like 15 milligrams.
So any challenges with the medicines?
No, no challenges with well, I'm not sure everybody responded to prednisone, but I think it started off me with 20 milligrams, whatever. And
Typical.
this is my typical body weight, plus or minus a few pounds. But that prednisone, I blew up pretty fast.
Yeah.
But that's the only reaction I had to the prednisone.
And I think most people, that's where they panic because sometimes you can blow up, but there are things that you can do, diet and exercise, things you can do to control. And usually that happens, like, I think I started out at 60 milligrams of prednisone.
Wow.
And I was on that for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was up to 250 pounds. I'm down to 196 now. So, you know,
So a lot of that is exercise, you know?
it's critical.
Okay.
It's critical.
Yes.
The doctor just pushes and pushes. That's you need to do the exercise. One size doesn't fit all. So did you go through a process with the doctors to find the right medicine or find the right balance of the medicine?
Well, if I can go back to the what he thought was a fungus, a skin fungus, multiple medications, and nothing seemed to work because he was treating the wrong thing. He didn't realize that, but the wrong thing. So, but then when it came to the treatment for sarcoidosis, they kind of nailed that up front. Initially, when they took me out of the quarantine, I was on the doctor gave me some expensive medicine. Take this. The same day he called me and said, please don't take that medication. He said,
Really?
it's the wrong medicine. It
Oh, my
potentially could kill
goodness.
you. So,
Wow.
so they backed off of that, and once they put me on the prednisone, that's about it. Like I said, they nailed that.
Right.
And then, like I said, the methotrexate, that's just something that just started about 2 years ago with me.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, how frequent are your doctor visits?
Now,
Yes.
about every 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. It used to be at the beginning, a couple times a week, and sometimes I would just show up because I thought something was going on, and I guess I can say the word freaking out because I'm really thinking I'm coughing up parts of my lungs because they said your lungs
yes.
look like Swiss cheese.
Yes.
So after hearing that, I'm like, I know what Swiss cheese look like, so what is I'm coughing up? So I would go to the doctor.
Right.
Can you please look at this? Am I really coughing up my lungs? But
Right.
so it was quite regular, and then it starts once a month. But now I'm every 6 months I go see my pulmonologist.
So do you, every 6 months, do you get your PFTs? You
Yes.
take that
Yeah.
every time? And how are your PFTs okay? I mean,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
as far
it's
as
amazing. It's amazing
your
'cause
numbers?
the numbers are great.
Well, that's good.
And I try to blow that machine off the, off the pedestal. I really do, because there was a time when I remember had difficulty breathing. It was bad. And a few years ago, we went to Texas to visit family. And I was fine when I left, what I considered fine. But then I noticed my breathing became very labored to the point I started to panic.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I could do the smallest thing, from walk from here to there, walk a flight of stairs, walk to the mailbox. That was challenging for about 3 months, maybe even longer than that.
Okay.
So those are some of the big challenges, trying to breathe like that. So at some point, you know, that things change, but I don't know.
Does the weather affect you? You know, the extreme hot, the humidity, or the extreme cold, does that give you shorter breath?
Well, I even
sometimes? Shortness of breath, I'm sorry.
thought that was part of it. Going to Texas, I thought it was elevation. I try to blame it on everything. I said, I was just fine in Maryland. What's going on with me now? So I said, perhaps when I get back to Maryland, I'll be okay. So I contacted the doctor, and he said, look, just increase your prednisone for a little while until we get back together. So I did, and that worked out. But the chill, I think I had the biggest attack during one of those winter storms we had, and help a neighbor dig a truck out of the snow.
Okay.
And I just finished shoveling my yard, and we walked to go get his vehicle. And at some point, I'm digging, and everything was fine, and all of a sudden, things just stopped.
What do you mean, stop?
I wasn't breathing anymore.
Really?
I wasn't breathing.
Oh, wow.
So I looked at my wife, and I didn't know what was going on. And I knew the snow as deep as it was. There's no way anybody going to get back there and get us.
Right.
So I just thought that was it.
Wow.
So during that time, I was in a panic mode and stuff. It always felt like, and I never climbed a mountain before, I can only imagine someone climbing a mountain in the cold, and as the air gets thinner and thinner, the oxygen levels also, you know, you can't breathe as well. And that's what I always felt like in the wintertime.
That is true.
And I've had the same issues.
Yes, that's true.
Mostly because I cycle year round, and I had the most issues during the winter because you're breathing in the cold air into your lungs. And when the slightest little resistance going up hills is when you have the problem, because it almost feels like you have like a 300-pound weight on your chest.
It does.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Oh, yeah.
It's really scary, you know, because even just, you know, shoveling the snow without any illness is dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so with the illness, it can be a huge impact on how we feel. But has anyone introduced you to any support groups, or, you know, do you belong to a support group?
You know, and if I really had to think about it, and I can't remember where you and I first met.
Right.
I don't know if it was on a chat or at some function, but I remember you invited me to.
Yes, I did.
To a session that you had.
Yes.
So that's I guess, part of the first support group.
Right.
But then I also entertained an online support group for a while.
Okay.
In fact, so it had to be somewhere around 2007, 2008.
Right.
And I gave myself a username, Healed in 2009, or Healed 09.
Okay.
Because I thought, you know, I'm going to get off this thing soon. But I was on this social website, nice support group. You know, everybody's sharing their stories, and male and female, young and old, what they've experienced, how long they've been on different medications, what are they doing, exercising, and that kind of stuff. So I found that social networking to be very helpful, because I never experienced anything like that before. Never been part of a group like that. But then as time went on, I backed away from it. I'm still an active member.
Okay.
But I'm not on there like I used to be. I used to be every day.
Okay.
But now I may check that. I may log on once every 2 months, once every 3 months.
Okay.
Because I told myself I got to get away from this thing.
Right.
And I hope no one takes offense to this, but I felt like I was nursing sarcoidosis.
Okay.
Every time I went to the watering hole, it was feeding me more information that I really didn't want to believe anymore.
Right.
So I stayed away from it.
Well, our support groups, now Larry can tell you this, we have some great support groups. And
Absolutely.
he comes to quite a bit of them, and we have a nice group, and it's really nice. You hear other stories, and it's really more like family, isn't it? I mean, it's
Absolutely.
no
Yeah.
one's judging anyone. Everybody has the same thing, some worse than others. And you would like it.
Okay.
You would like it. I mean, you come away feeling like you've learned something else. And you know, with this illness, we don't know too much about it as much
scratch the
as
surface.
we can see. But with those support groups, we have a great, you know, great people that attend, and you know, I think it'll be something that you would like. So when I email you,
I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
because you mentioned that you're healed, and so do you have any? I mean, has the doctors told you that you're healed? Do you have any proof or any supporting evidence that is this just a belief of yours? Also, you mentioned something about the prednisone. What's interesting is I hear a lot of times people who go on the prednisone, then they reduce it, and then something happens and the doctor says, oh, I got to put you on a large dose to give your body a shock.
Okay.
And a lot of times that's what keeps a lot, especially us men. When we hear that big dose, no, we're not, you know. And I've heard some women say that to me, also mention that to me too, also that they don't want to blow up and you know, they're going to put me on a big dose. I've even said it myself. But now that I have a better understanding of, you know, what prednisone does and some of the things that I can do to help, you know, alleviate some of the side effects of prednisone. I mean, I have a better I'm educated a little bit better on some of the things I need to do.
You know, I'm not going to take anything away from doctors. You know, thank God for doctors, because, you know, I truly believe that God has revealed more in medicine than it was 100 years ago, 5 years ago.
absolutely.
Because, like I said, they were
Absolutely.
treating, they even said, there's some writings that said they misdiagnosed sarcoidosis years ago as tuberculosis.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I've heard that.
as medication or medicines improve and doctors become much more educated, I can't take anything away from them for the medication that they're providing.
That's true.
But I'm going to say I'm a living testimony. I have documented proof, living proof, that I'm healed. Yes, I go to the doctor every 6 months for a test, and like I said, I try to blow that machine off its pedestal because they used to take me and take my oxygen level. At rest,
They would do mine.
I'm doing great, 92, 93 plus, whatever it is. And the doctor took me on a little journey in this hallway, and within a few seconds, my oxygen levels dropped to the point he said, we got to go back and sit back down. So, you know, that's all well and good. But my healing is this, and I didn't know that was happening then, but I see it now. Like I said, I had this laborious breathing, and I really thought, I'm in bad shape here.
Right.
I mean, the doctor already told me I'm at stage 4. I'm thinking stage 4. If there's no stage 5, then I must be at its worst. He told me I was a good candidate for a double lung transplant. So this is not sounding good for me.
Yeah.
So one day I come home from work and I was sitting at the table, and I don't remember what I was doing, but I was home alone, and I heard the Holy Spirit speak to me. It wasn't an audible loud, but I heard it loud within me, and it said, Gerald, I want you to get up and walk. And I can't say he said to 7-Eleven, but it was in the direction of 7-Eleven. So I stopped everything I was doing. I said, yes, Lord. And at this point, I couldn't walk up my stairs. I couldn't walk to the mailbox without somebody being there with me. Because if I got into a panic state, I didn't want to exert my last energy trying to call somebody for help.
Right.
So my signal was I would clap. And my daughter at the time was living with us, and my wife, they knew that I was in trouble.
Yeah.
But this particular day when the Lord said to get up and walk, I got up and I walked to 7-Eleven. And where I live, it's quite hilly. If I had to tell a lie, it's uphill both ways, to and from. But it's very hilly. And after it was all said and done, I marked it. It's 2 miles out and 2 miles back. So I walked a total of 4 miles in a short period of time. And I didn't struggle for air. I did well. Didn't realize it then, But I know it now. That was the Lord. And ever since then, I've been fine. And this
That's
is
a blessing.
my breathing improved overnight. And this is before they put me on methotrexate.
Okay.
Nothing had changed with my other medication. So I have to attribute this all to the grace of God, that when he spoke to me and gave me a word to go, I guess I was just an obedient steward and did it.
And that's a
So,
good
and
thing.
here I am now, and I'm free.
That's good.
That's
That's
awesome.
really good.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I was going to ask the question about you sharing with our viewers, just giving them some hope, and because what you said just now is it's exciting. And do you have anything else that you would like to share with our viewers about your success story?
You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat, I'm not going to lie.
Right.
Sarcoidosis is real.
Yes, it is.
You know, it has a name, and it's taken a lot of people out that
Yes.
probably too many that we could even name or even count. So sarcoidosis is real. So if anybody has either been diagnosed, struggling with, or even having some difficulty and afraid to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. Get it checked out, because without the x-ray, they didn't know what was going on with me. So when I went to the doctor and it showed up in the x-ray, didn't know what it was, but knew something was wrong. Get it checked out.
Right.
Men,
That's the
women,
main thing.
get it checked out. But then once you under the care of a doctor, do what they tell you to do. You can't take it for granted, because life is too short, too precious. So
Right.
go to the doctor. And if you are a Christian and believe in what the Bible says, that by his stripes we're healed, I took that with every part of my being to believe that I'm healed. So I know that Jesus is healed, and if I'm to be like him, I consider myself healed.
Right.
So
Well, that's, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's some words to live by. Believe it or not, the show is almost over. That's how much, information that you have given us, and we actually have to bring you back
And
again,
words of encouragement,
because
yeah. Absolutely.
It's important. But we're definitely glad that you're here, and you gave some words of encouragement, and to let them know that sarcoidosis is real.
Yes.
And do not take this illness for granted and think that not taking it seriously. So thank you again for coming on the show, Gerald. We really appreciate it. We wish you well. Many blessings to you and your family.
Yes. Thank
you.
Continued
Thank you.
blessings. And remember,
We
we
both
both have
have
sarcoidosis,
sarcoidosis,
but
but
sarcoidosis doesn't have us. Until next time, be blessed.
All right.
And you too, Larry. And you too. I'm sorry. And you too, Gerald.